gon' make some moves tonight. Yeah, stand up, got something to prove tonight. So stand up, we ain't gonna plan tonight. We gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till the top. We ain't gonna plan tonight. We gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
Hey folks, what is going on? My name is Scott Churchson, and joining me as always is USL sports writer Mr. Bill Akins, and this is Soccer Sports Writers React. Today, we're talking about what the U.S. men's national team needs to get to finally getting to the round of 8. What I'm title is this something I'm going to call Matt Freese versus the Internet, plus also a couple other things, including the rest of World Cup and Gotham FC's decision to move to Queens, and the reaction from the fans being we'll call it mixed, to say the least. So, first off, before we get things rolling, Bill, how the heck are you, man?
I'm doing good, Scott. How are you?
Hanging in okay. So, let's roll right out of the gate like this. It was, how do we describe basically that match the other night? Disappointing, unexpected, shocking. What phrase would you use?
Well, I thought it was a big time letdown. I think Alexei Lawless put it in. I thought his comments were spot on. I don't think that nobody could have orated better what he said, and he basically said, they picked their worst time to play their worst game, and they really did. It was not what you would have expected from them. It was a total meltdown. I mean, it in all facets. I mean, it was a total meltdown in all facets of the game. Goalkeeping, I thought, was just, obviously that blunder. I mean, that's just, you can't afford to do that. I thought the back line was terrible, in defending them. I thought creating chances, they could not create anything. And it just, they were outmatched, and it was quite frankly, it was embarrassing. I mean, it was. So,
and given all the hype that surrounded this team, hype for ratings, it was, I think, 23 or 24 million viewers on Fox for the U.S. men's national team match against Bosnia, the 2-0 win. And apparently that bumped up to 30 million people here in the U.S. watching on Fox to see the U.S. team give up a goal 9 minutes in and basically get crushed 4-1. Like you said, there's a lot of reasons this went south. Matt Freese taking the hit for the most part in a very Buckner-esque moment. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the truth is they only had 2 shots on goal, and the second one didn't even show up until 81 minutes in when they're already down by 2.
Yeah. And I mean, it was, you look back at the historical highs of this team. Obviously, quarterfinals in 2002. You looked at this team going into this match, and you're like, especially with Balogun, them waiving his suspension and him being able to play. You really thought, okay, this is, they have a chance to win here. They have a chance to advance. This team's something special, but they. Just have a torrid performance against Belgium. Yeah. Lack of finishing. Like I said, the defense was, it was bad. I mean, the back line was just exposed in that match. I mean, you had defensive blunders, you had inconsistency, you had everything. You had everything. Like I said, I thought Alexei Lawless summed it up. You picked the worst time to play your worst match.
Now, in this case, this is also the first time the team, like we stated this before, this is the first time the U.S. team has actually faced a top 20 team, and more importantly, a team that actually had a better ranking than they did, ranking 9th, with the U.S. being 15th or 16th. So right out of the gate, up until that point, every single match they had the advantage of being ranked a better team by FIFA. And suddenly they face a top 10 team and they get crushed. And it didn't take long.
No, it didn't. It unraveled fast. And, you get that equalizer to make it 1-1. And then, in less than 2 minutes, they get the go-ahead goal.
Yep.
And it's just, at that point in time, I knew this game was done. I knew it was over. I'm like, they can't hang with this team, I thought there was a little hope when they got the equalizer, but it was just that was short lived. After that, that go ahead goal to make it 2-1, I was like, yeah, this game's done.
Yep.
And this has the earmarks of unraveling fast, and it did.
And of course, obviously adding to the, we'll call it off the pitch conversations, which there's a saying by Bill Belichick that said, never put your teammates in a position where you have to answer questions about them. Yeah. And now this is obviously not Balogun's fault by any stretch. Folarin Balogun, was honestly just almost a victim in all of this, where, he had the 3 goals. Obviously he gets the red card, which was questionable, but right. Then he becomes the face of something that he was not supposed to be the face of. And all of the political intervention on this really put a giant target, not just on his back, but also on the team as well, because the entire world was suddenly rooting for Belgium. And that 4-1 final, right. I think, very satisfying across the globe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was well, listen, and let's be clear here. That red card was absolutely
questionable at best,
uncalled.
Sure.
Yeah, yes. I mean, let's just. It was. I mean, that was ridiculous. And you can make the argument Messi did the same exact thing and didn't even get a yellow for it.
Yep.
So they claim that they don't give preferential treatment. That's BS. They do. They there's different calls for different stars, as I like to say. And and that was a terrible call. But yeah, I get it. I mean, the phone call that was made, and then all of a sudden, that's the. I mean, for us, I mean, I mean, I was happy. I got to be honest with you, I was happy, and I'm like, yeah, our best player is going to be in this match, and they desperately need it. But in the end, it didn't mean it was meaningless. Yeah. But I could see how the world, if I was not an American and I was a, let's say Argentine or I was a Argentinian or a Englishman. Yeah. I mean, I would be like, yeah, that's BS. Yeah. The BS that you make a phone call and, miraculously his red card's lifted or not lifted, but his suspension's lifted and he's able to play in this match. Yeah, I would be mad too. I mean, absolutely, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Ironically enough, though, by and large, the people that were watching this match, who were, we'll say, casual viewers, who didn't really understand the offside rule or substitutions or any of these things, they just saw America playing a team. I don't think they really understood the implication or even cared about the implication on something like this from a worldwide stage, because all that mattered was for them, our best player's back. Which one is it? I don't know. A lot of them probably couldn't even pick him out of a lineup anyway, but all they knew is that their leading scorer was back by any means necessary. And that was enough for most of the U.S. audience to be like, yay.
Yeah. Which, is sad. I mean, this game has failed to really grow in this country. I mean, I think there was a lot of non-soccer fans. Yeah, I thought there was a lot of non-soccer fans that were tuning into this. I mean, I have friends that don't watch soccer that were actually tuning in and actually interested in this big time. So that's good. But then it once they're out, it ends. You know what I'm saying? It ends, and that's the problem that we have in this country with it. I have theories on why it is. You and I have talked a little bit about it, but I have theories why that is, and one's glaring with the MLS, and I have a lot of issues with the MLS. But we can save that for a later time. But yeah, I mean, it was just, you're happy that he's back in there, but like I said, it was meaningless. Could you imagine if he wasn't back in there? I mean, I don't know. Would it be 5-1, 6-1? I don't know.
It might have been better. I mean, here's the theory on this.
Who knows?
Because of the off-the-pitch distractions, and because of the fact that Poch had days to prepare for him not being in the lineup, this was, I think, in some weird way, a curveball they weren't prepared for. So as a result, it threw off their game. They might have played better, honestly, if none of this stuff had happened in the first place.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's.
I mean, would they have won? Probably not, but it might have been like 3-1, or at least
Right.
something quasi respectable.
Right.
Matt Freese, basically chaos theory being the way it is. Matt Freese would be looking better during all this, but yeah.
I have to believe they were. I mean, it's. I mean, I hate to be Captain Obvious here, but I have to believe they were prepping for him not to be in there, and then at the last second they're like, "Oh no, he can play." So I could see that, like how you would kind of have to like adjust everything. Pochettino would have to be like, "All right, now he's playing. Like we've been preparing the last few days for him not to play. Now we got to completely, basically tear up the game plan, throw it away, and inject him into the lineup, and I don't, that could very well be. That's a very good theory on the whole thing.
That may be part of the reason why it was also a 3-5-2 format, and you had Pulisic up front, who took himself out of that match later on, and Landon Donovan had some choice words on that. But coming back to this,
he's injured.
Yeah,
I mean, he's injured. He's been nagging. He's an evident. Unfortunately, I mean, he's had a nagging injury. It started even before this happened in training prior to the first match. So this has been a long-going nagging injury of Pulisic. We did not have 100% Pulisic. We probably had a 60% Pulisic, at this,
Yeah.
So.
But in this case, to answer the big question, I have some thoughts about what the U.S. men's national team needs to get to round of 8. You might have some of your own. Do you want to go first on that, or you want me to?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's just a lack of elite depth on this team. I mean, you can say what you want to say. You have some standout players in top European leagues, and I think that, but I think the overall pool of talent is just not deep enough. Period. And I mean, you have to have a deep talent pool in order to compensate for, some of the off games of your starting 11, right? And there's just, and this comes back, this kind of full circles back to what I was originally saying. This exposes the issues of U.S. domestic player development. This is why you have this. Okay. This is why we talk about this, ad nauseum, because it is important. And that's how you build the depth and how you build a roster. And when you don't have proper development like you do in all these other countries where soccer's their number one sport, and they have just, they're just leaps and bounds ahead of us. This is what you get. This is the product you get. So, I mean, it's not, nobody should be shocked by this, right? Nobody should be shocked by that we're not able to go deep into rounds in the World Cup. Nobody should be shocked by this. It's just, that's the way it is. And until we change trajectory, it's not going to change. I mean, the result's going to be the same.
Yeah. And when you look at a lot of the national team levels, you have the best of the best coaching at the 12-year-old, 13, 14, 15-year-old levels. The people that have experience at this level, training the youth, and the future of that particular country, whether it's England, whether it's Norway, Argentina, they have it. It's a badge of honor. Here, you get some random person where, at the high school level, the elementary school level, you've got someone who, is a teacher, coaches gym class and does this on the side to pick up some extra coin. As a result, the quality of leadership is not there. Now, this did come down the pipeline earlier today. Steve Cherundolo, longtime head coach of LAFC and a respected coach within the MLS ranks, he has taken over the U.S. under 23 team for the 2028 Olympics. That's solid. I think that's a good move there overall. But unfortunately, U23 is not U16.
No, and yeah, exactly. It's not. Yeah, and I mean, this is we have a major problem with soccer development in this country. Major problem. And it's self-inflicted. That's the thing. It's self-inflicted. We've got nobody to blame but ourselves when it comes to that. Not pushing the popularity. If I can, I mean, I'm going to take, if you're allowing me to at this point in time, I want to take a shot at the MLS.
Okay.
And my biggest issue is with them is, they have not they have drastically failed at marketing this league.
This is a great opportunity
for decades. Okay. The fact that and I get it, they're making a ton of money off Apple TV, but Apple TV is not, it's one of those platforms that, some people don't have it. A lot of people don't have it. It's not one of the top 3 platforms. I don't believe it is anyways. There's not, and they you have to have Apple TV to watch the MLS, right? You have to have the Apple TV to watch the MLS. Could you imagine if they had partnerships with ESPN, CBS,
Netflix? It's Netflix even.
Right, exactly. Could you imagine if ESPN had a partnership with them? More people were exposed to MLS. They sit there and they complain that, oh, we don't have the viewership. Well, it's your own doing. It's because you got, you took the money and ran with Apple TV. You obviously don't have any I don't know. You obviously don't have any aspirations or inspirations of growing this league because you choose to market it poorly. You choose poor marketing tactics. You're not. People aren't watching in the MLS. They're just not. Yeah. I mean, and for that very reason, because you have to have Apple TV to watch it. I've said this before. I have SiriusXM, right? You don't have a designated MLS channel. You don't have a designated MLS channel. Okay, you have one channel on there that covers the whole world of soccer, and that's FC 157. That and you don't have a designated MLS channel. You don't on other streaming platforms. You don't have a designated MLS channel. You could very well easily have a designated MLS channel to maybe grow this. How about a designated? You had it. They had it for a year on Pluto. They had an MLS channel on Pluto, and they took it away, and it was free. So all these people that don't watch the MLS could have been exposed to it, but no, you took that away probably because you weren't making money at it. But what are we looking at here? Do we want to grow the sport, or do we want to make the quick buck, or do we want to grow the sport? And to me, the MLS wants to just make the quick buck. They don't have any concerns about growing the sport. And people say, "Well, yeah, you're wrong about that. They want to grow the sport." Well, show me then. They're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're actually going in the opposite direction. You're not pushing the needle forward at all.
Meanwhile, on the other side, you have the NWSL, who I have full confidence in, and pardon me a second, I have to sneeze. I have full confidence is going to take advantage of the Women's World Cup next year, which is going to be, by the way, on Netflix. They need to look and say, this is what not to do. Bless you. This is what not to do, right? This is, this is what, here's, the MLS continues to make these mistakes and don't want to do anything about it. Here's what we need to do in order to, and more power to them. I mean, I tell you what, and you look at something like this and you look at, this bothers me. And I mentioned this actually on TikTok yesterday or a couple of days ago, the fact that you have World Cup in your backyard and there was nothing to talk about. Forget NWSL for a second. Because again, they have Women's World Cup next year. I'm giving them a free pass to see what they're going to do. But MLS and even USL had an opportunity to promote their product because you're playing in your backyard. Now, obviously what happened with Belgium is a bad way of handling it, but you had the chance to see, watch the best, best that you have in your country in your backyard. What part of the country you're in doesn't matter. There was an opportunity there. Don Garber showed up on a couple of interviews, but that was as far as he went. And a lot of us, myself, MLS Moves, all of us were like, what the hell are you doing? We've talked about this previously. You had it right in your window. It's right there. And you decided, nope, we're not going to do anything about it. And it made things, honestly, it hurts the brand, which in this case also, ironically enough, I think this is where I'm tied together, also hurts the U.S. men's national team going forward. Because in this country, this is an NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball country. The way, and Zlatan has talked about this, he talks about how expensive it is to play we'll call it soccer here in the U.S., because you have to register for classes, you got to buy the uniforms, you got to spend so much money here. Where in other countries, you get started with 2 trees and a ball. And it doesn't it could be a basketball, it could be a dodgeball, it doesn't matter. Some kind of ball, 2 trees, 2 cones, 2 cars. I mean, we played that one growing up too. And then you pray to God you don't hit the car, and you pray to God that when you hit a car, the owner of the car doesn't notice. But but that's how simple it is elsewhere. And as a result, you get a bigger interest at an earlier stage, which allows greater interest. And then from that, you get those players. You have a wider talent pool coming in because you can recognize it early on. So you can see your Kanes, you can see your Hollands, you can see your Mbappes at a younger age. The U.S. does not have a team like that or a player like that people can get behind. People, you see in other sports, LeBron. My father has never watched a basketball game in his life. It's never been his sport. He doesn't watch really sports at all, but he knows who LeBron is. If the U.S. men's national team got a LeBron-style person that they could market, then you can build the foundation and the interest in the sport that way by following suit. But what did U.S. Soccer do? They backed up the money truck for Lionel Messi. How's that worked out?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, there's no development. And we've talked about this before. Soccer's one of these sports in this country where kids play, and it's like I say it's almost like a transitional sport, right? It's like, okay, you're just playing this until you're able to play baseball or American football. It's like you see all these young kids that play it, and then they don't stick with it because some of these there's no mid-level programs. After a certain age, it's like, okay, now you got to play an American sport. Now you have to play either baseball, football, or basketball, and you got to move on from soccer. There's in some places there are, but in a lot of places there aren't. And look at the collegiate level too. Look at the NCAA. How it's just there's no. What I'm saying? There's just no. It doesn't get any coverage hardly. It gets very little. I mean, it's just a sport that just has been. It has tried to take off, but honestly. I mean, you have morons that are running like you have morons that don't have a clue about marketing that are trying to market this sport. And I mean, the MLS is doing a terrible job. They're doing a terrible job, and they have done a terrible job for decades, and they don't seem to want to fix it. Like I said, the whole Apple TV, I'm convinced it was a quick money grab for them. And they say they want to grow the sport, but they have no interest in growing the sport. They want to make the quick buck, and I mean the proof's in the pudding.
And it's something I see with some of the other leagues out there too, like the independent leagues. They'll go into a deal with Flow Sports or something, take the paycheck, and throw something behind a paywall that nobody watches.
Right.
Some independent baseball leagues have done that. Lacrosse, I think, some of the independent leagues have done that because the commissioner gets a free paycheck out of the gate. And then you grow whatever it is. Flow Sports, whether it's Flow, whether it's Apple TV, it's something where, from Apple TV's perspective, 25 or 250 million doesn't even count as money to them. And as a result, it was an audition tape for the bigger stuff that I know they want to get. They got what they want out of this. They couldn't care less about that. They got Formula One now. Wait until they get like the World Series or the NBA Finals, or if they could find their way to getting Super Bowl, which, let's face it, Super Bowl will go streaming at some point. That's what they want. That's what their side's on. To them, honestly, MLS was just a stepping stone.
Right. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, I worry about, the team I cover.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've had success, right? They've had sellouts, right? They had
won a championship last year.
They won a championship. They've had a lot of sellouts. But honestly, I mean, when you have a little bit of success in a sports town like Pittsburgh, how hard is it to sell, 6,000 tickets and have a sellout? When they add the 10,000, when they add to the stadium and up the capacity to 15,000. Is it still going to be a sellout? That's my biggest question.
Yeah.
Are they still going to sell out? Are they going to fall, short on their expectations? And I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much, I don't know. I don't know of any waiting list,
Mhm.
for season tickets, so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be when they up the capacity.
Yeah.
Is the demand still going to be there? Is it going to be a higher demand are you you going to sell out, 15,000 sellout, you're going to be selling 15,000 tickets and have, multiple sellouts. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that.
And
Like I
it
said,
did.
It's real easy to sell out at 6,000. What are you going to do at 15,000?
Sure. Also, additionally, since I see USL shows up a lot on like local TV. So the
Right.
Cosmos game was on the other day. I think it was on Yes Network or SNY or one of the local ones, and if they see an empty crowd. Now, the Cosmos game that they had the other day, that had fans by the dozens that were in there. There was probably, the way the camera was set up, there was probably 35, maybe 45 fans there. And you could tell.
Right.
And when you see something like this with the added pressure of seeing that, if you see a large crowd, it generates more interest when you have something broadcast on TV because people will bandwagon.
Right.
And
Well,
if you see an empty crowd like that and you're drawing 3, 4, 5,000 a game, but have the capacity for 15, it doesn't look like 3, 4, or 5. It
Right.
looks like 10,000 plus empty spaces.
right.
And
Exactly.
again, it's on TV,
It's a bad
which hurts
look.
the brand that way.
Right. It's a bad look. You tell the
Yeah.
cameraman, hey, don't pan the whole way up.
Yeah.
Just pan to the lower
Go
bowl.
tight shot on Robbie Mertz and only Robbie Mertz all the way through.
Just pan the lower bowl and that's it. Don't
Yeah.
the cutoff is at the lower bowl. You want that top of the screen to be lower bowl. You don't. No, here's the other thing. If any executives from MLS are listening, you might want to listen to what I'm about to say because I have a theory on a little something here that I'm gonna little tidbit I'm gonna throw out there. You kind of failed with the whole marketing with the World Cup. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you didn't do what you could have done. Could have been better. Here's the thing: next year, more than likely, I mean, it's pretty much a done deal. We're not going to have Major League Baseball in this country next year.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're
good
MLS,
call.
you want to capitalize on this, and you've got a chance to capitalize it. Ditch your thing with Apple TV, put it on ESPN, put it on Fox Sports, put it on FS1, put it on FS2, maybe even have CBS Sports involved in it, and start showing your games in multiple platforms. You have a chance to capitalize on this because you're not going to have Major League Baseball. People are going to want to tune into something in the summer, right? You could really take advantage of this if you're smart and if you have any inklings of growing this brand. And up until this point, I don't think you do. I think you want to make quick money, and that's all you want to do. I mean, but show us I mean, you've got a golden opportunity to maybe make this league, a little bit more popular than what it is, given the fact that you're going to have the market cornered for the summer. So, and I know they're switching then to the other format after that, but like I said, you got an opportunity.
And here in the New York City area, there's 2 baseball teams right now. And you have an MLS team that's debuting a new stadium as well with Etihad Park. So, yes, you are correct. I will probably reach out to Brad Sims and see what are you doing for this next year? I'll probably get some kind of formulated canned answer. Oh, we're looking at every analytical side of it and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
what's that done for you?
Yeah, I know. But it'll be interesting because you do make a great point, a stellar point on this, is that there's going to be a vacuum there.
Right.
So places like here, places like LA, places like Atlanta, even to a degree. Atlanta draws good crowd for MLS, but the Braves are popular as well. So you see this, you see what, the New England Revolution, with obviously the Red Sox. There is an opportunity. The longer this lockout lasts for baseball, the better it can be for all the other sports to put a footprint on.
Right. And I mean, think about it. You're just 1 year removed from the World Cup. You've got some of these people that are there's no baseball. Let me tune into the MLS. let me tune into the MLS. I watched the World Cup last year, kind of enjoyed it. There's no baseball. I want to watch something. So let's tune into the MLS. Like I said, it's a golden opportunity for them. Whether they decide to take advantage of it is it's going to be remain to be seen here. So.
Yeah, you got me thinking about a couple of different things here. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So, but yeah, right now, U.S. men's national team has a long way to go. I don't care what kind of hype they get, what kind of patriotism going on. And yeah, home turf and America 250, I'm sure had some impact on this. But the reality is, you are what your record says you are. And at the end of the day, their record was 2 losses.
Bill Parcells said it best. You are what your record says you are. So I mean, yeah. I mean, it's It's and I like Alexei Law's comments. He's like, he was asked the question, "Do you look at this as a success?" And he said, "Well, given what happened, no. I mean, you can't look at it as a success. Of course not. I mean, yeah. I mean, was it great that they got to the round of 16? Yeah, but I mean, also, he said this is the time for moral victories is over. That's and I like him saying that.
And again, I think we said this already. I think a successful season was to get to the round of 8, first time since 2022. And then, okay, you win this match and you face Spain and you lose to Spain. Okay, fine. Spain is an unbridled powerhouse. I mean, they took out Ronaldo. They beat Ronaldo in his last World Cup game. If the US gets killed 4-1 in a match against Spain in a round of 8, I think even despite the final score, I think you walk away happy with that.
You're fine with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get beaten by Belgium. I mean, Belgium's good. Don't get me wrong. They have better talent than what we've got. But, I mean, God, Belgium's a small little country.
No one thinks of Belgium when you think about, the last 4.
No.
Yeah.
No, you don't. And, I mean, that was embarrassing. That was an embarrassing loss.
Yeah.
And, most of it, these goals that were conceded in that match, they were self-inflicted goals. I mean, it was. It was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And, I mean.
Speaking of one.
Yeah. See that segue?
Speaking of the one that was self-inflicted here, Matt Freese, that was a gaffe of unbridled proportions. Let's call it what it is. Ironically, the fan base has turned on him big time. Here in the New York City area.
Turned on him or hasn't?
What's that?
Did you say has turned on him or hasn't?
100% turned on him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He was beloved. He was popular. He was just named to the MLS All-Star game. So credit where it's due there. Right. But you can see basically who did it better. Great example right here. And being a Giants fan, I feel that one too. Yeah. But, your goalkeeper just caused the U.S. men's national team to die. Why are you posting this? Right. We're just here for the comments. I mean, all of these things where it's just all of these comments just trashing the fact that Matt Freese had that gaffe.
Right.
This should be revoked after what I watched the other night. 1,800 likes. This like I said, these are the issues that happen. Freese is actually very solid. We got the Belgium. So
yeah, he was.
So,
I mean, yeah, he was.
And it's disappointing in this case here because he is a good guy. He is a hard worker, and this is the worst thing that has ever happened to him. Not, I would say not even just on the pitch. I'm saying it in life. It's the amount of backlash on this, and it's a crossroads for him big time.
It was Bill Buckner-esque, right?
Yeah, my God, the similarities are insane.
Yeah. You're in that 50. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me get this out of my system. Not even a minute. Yeah. I watched Buckner back in '86. On that black and white TV that's back over there. Nobody remembers the fact that Calvin Schiraldi and Bob Stanley gave up the 2 runs in that inning that led to the tie score.
Right. They all remember that.
A lot of people just think Buckner fell. No, the match was tied. When the ball went between Buckner's legs, because the Mets had scored 2, because there was 2 blown saves that evening. Yeah. No one remembers that. Matt Freese, no one's going to remember the fact that the team only had 2 shots on goal.
And the Buckner thing was a routine play.
Yes, it was. And so was this, to be honest.
And so was this. I'm just going to say that. So was this. This was a routine play. Here's the problem. You're trailing 2-1, right? You're looking for any type of you're just looking to get that equalizer. I thought at that point in time they were working hard. I thought they could have maybe gotten the equalizer and made it 2-2. Okay, you're in the 57th minute. what was he thinking? You rush out of your box to clear this long ball, right? But instead of going full tilt, and if you would have went full tilt, you probably would have been okay. You hesitate, and that's all it took was just a small, Freese. It was just a small hesitation from Freese, and what was it? De Ketelaere strips the ball and just sets up Hans Van Aken to score in that empty net. And it was terrible. It was a bad blunder. At least if you're going to do that, you go full tilt. Hesitating is what cost you right there in that particular.
I mean, the decision to go forward, he is trained to go forward. That's the right call in this case here because you limit the angle. Because you saw what happened. What was I think Tim Ream was back there. It was Ream against the entire goal at that point. There was no shot.
But hesitating is going to is going to create, and they're going to be able to, they're going to be able to set something up, and as it happened, that's exactly what what transpired.
And looking at it also is the fact it's amazing how one split second decision in this case or hesitation will affect you for the rest of your life that quickly. And like I said, the backlash that he's getting right now, it sucks because it's never really happened to him before. So it's going to be an interesting test to see how he handles the backlash. Forget, Europe, forget NYCFC, forget all this kind of stuff. I'm praying to God he stays off the internet right now. Weirdly enough, 11 years ago right now was my epic failure on America's Got Talent. So I was a pariah of the internet 11 years ago right now. So I know, and like I said, you don't read the comments. You fucking don't. Right. Because that's the kind of stuff that will just wreck you internally. Right. And for him, he's never, I think, really had to deal with something like this before. So it's a crossroad. And where he goes from here, whether it gets better or worse, honestly, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I mean, he took full responsibility for the mistake. He said, it hurts more than probably any other moment in my life. Yeah, because you're on that world stage, and you're already down 2-1. That killed all the momentum. I mean, that just destroyed the momentum, and that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was it. There was no recovering from that once that happened. I mean, you're in the 57th minute.
Yep.
You're down 3-1 now. And then you're done.
And still, you've only mustered one shot on goal.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a bad situation in this case here, and I'm curious. I mean, I think maybe going back to the MLS level might do him some good. Unfortunately, he's got it's still about 2 to 3 weeks before the next match. However, I forget what it works out to be specifically, but it's not till the end of the month. So he wants to get back into a game right now. He can't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you want to put it all behind you, but that's going to be very hard. The people aren't going to let it go. Yeah, people are not going to let it go. Not in the World Cup on that stage, and making a mistake. And it was his fault. I mean, I'm not going to say, and Pochettino, of course, Pochettino is going to say, well, hey, it was a team-wide failure. Of course, that's what he's going to say. But I mean, that was a killer. That was a momentum killer that you can't recover back from. I mean, they were already down at that point in time 2-1, and you were railing to just be able to get an equalizer. You were having to put everything out there, and go guns a blazing to try to get this equalizer, and then you give up a goal like that, and it's 3-1, and then, like I said, it was over. It was over. I think they quit. I mean, I think there was just a lot of it was deflating, at that point in time. I'm not going to say. Let me back that up. I don't think they quit, but I think it was okay. The reality set in that okay, we're done. It's not. There's no
also,
coming
don't
back from
forget,
this.
I mean, what put Matt Freese in that position as well was a breakaway.
Right.
I mean, everyone's blaming him for this, but you know what? That was a complete team breakdown to allow that complete breakaway to happen in the first place.
Right. And that's why I say, the back line was terrible.
Yeah.
In this match, they were bad.
And it was 3-5-2. Don't forget that too. So you 3 in the back, 3 and 5 in the midfield, so they can play both sides of this.
Right.
They left him out to dry. That they were going to try and go with more of a defensive first approach, and they kind of did.
Right.
And it still failed.
And it still failed, yeah.
But Freese, I'm curious to see what happens with him.
I feel for the guy. I do.
Yeah.
It was a mistake. He made a mistake. He hesitated when he shouldn't have. And
Yep.
It happens.
Can't take time back in this case, but
right.
Yeah, let's see what happens there. So, all right, staying in the New York City area, I've got one more in this case. Gotham FC, to the surprise of very few, has announced that actually they are going to be moving in 2028 over to Etihad Park in Queens. This stuff, I knew the writing was on the wall in this case here. They didn't want to keep playing at Sports Illustrated Stadium. They started playing. There had a couple of matches that were going to be announced at Etihad Park next year anyway, and from there we immediately knew, okay, they're going to be heading over there. The problem is the fact that the fans for this are mainly from Jersey. And a lot of the fans right now, honestly, are really, really pissed about this decision because a lot of them come from the Sky Blue FC era when it wasn't Gotham FC. It was a team that was really Jersey centric. And here in Jersey, we deal with this crap all the time. But, this is the Gotham FC post. Most of the feedback is negative. My season tickets are all up for sale. Guess we won't see them again. We'll miss you in Jersey. Congratulations. Bye. NYC is blue. Okay, fine. No concern for their longtime NJ fan base. This is incredibly disappointing. This is really upsetting. These are the responses that are coming in from the fans of the team because they're Jersey-based fans. And I get the move in this case and the decision to go to Queens. You want to schmooze international, billionaires. JFK, airport is right around the corner from where Etihad Park is. So it's a hop, skip, and jump that way, And the reality is, for those of us in New Jersey, we are the most vilified state in the country. We are. No one else. I don't care. Pennsylvania, Idaho, it drives me crazy when I see it like Wyoming versus the world. Bullshit. No, New Jersey versus the world. Because we got to deal with Jersey Shore, with all the cast members from Staten Island. We got to deal with the billionaires who dropped toxic waste in our area in the 1980s. I had a giant divot in my front yard when I was a kid that never got grass for like 40 years because some asshole dumped something in there for a bucket of money. Right. This is what we have to deal with. So we have to be the ugly stepsister, the ugly stepchild, and stepsister or stepsibling, we'll call it, to New York City. And this doesn't surprise it. But the fans here are loyal to Jersey centric. And once again, we lose another one.
And they wonder why Jersey people have a chip on their shoulder, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because everybody treats us like crap, so we're returning the favor.
Right. I'm spent a lot of time in Jersey. Actually, before I was born, my parents lived in Seaside Heights for a while.
Okay.
So,
down at the shore,
yeah.
Also, people go to the shore all the time.
Yeah. It's non New Yorkers and non people that know much about Jersey or have really never been to Jersey probably are saying, why are these people complaining? It's not that far away. You're moving across state lines
in 2 hours.
Correct. You're moving across state lines, and
an hour of traffic if you're lucky.
Right. It's a big thing. Right. It's a big thing. Now, I know they said, they tried to smooth this thing over and say, well, we're going to have our training footprint in New Jersey. I mean, come on, dude. Like, seriously?
I got somebody I graduated high school with. He and his daughters are huge Gotham FC fans here in Jersey, and season ticket holders, loyal to a fault. I mean, he and I, we talk women's soccer. It's all we talk about, right. And he's heartbroken because now his kids can't go. And he literally commented on the Facebook page. He's like, why are you even bothering putting the training facility in Whippany? You're training in Queens. Just, what the crap? You're giving us a training facility? Whoopee.
Right.
It's not even easy to get to either. It's like kind of central West Jersey.
I mean, I've driven past Sports Illustrated Stadium. It looks cool. What's it like in the inside? I've never been there. What's it like in the inside?
It is a nice soccer, we'll call it, centric stadium. It really is.
Yeah.
When it became Sports Illustrated Stadium, they changed some things that honestly weren't the better for me because now my press area is like way up in the boondocks where you see like mountain goats and like, stuff like this. But it's a good looking stadium. It really is.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
like
it's
I said,
unfortunate.
and for Gotham FC, I've covered Gotham FC as press.
Yeah.
They've got a solid fan base.
Right.
Maybe not be huge numbers, but they have a
Yeah.
legitimate, bona fide fan base there.
And they're a good. They're a decent franchise. They got a cool name. I mean, you love the name. They got a cool logo. I like their color scheme. I like everything about them. I mean, when I watch NWSL, I usually tune in to Gotham FC and see what they're doing. That's kind of like, if you asked me to pick a team in the NWSL, that's who I would pick. It's just, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate, So let me ask you this: what was the main reason for the move? I mean, was it money influence? Was there something going on locally that they weren't happy about? What was the premise for the move, I guess?
Money at the end of the day. I mean, right now, the reality is Etihad Park was never really geared to be just for one team, during a season. I envision it to being well beyond that too, where it's going to be, concerts will be played there. Rugby, there's an international rugby tournament at Sports Illustrated Stadium, I think end of September, Australia and the US. They would probably try to bring in things like that as well. The Olympics in 2028, the soccer side of it is going to be at Etihad Park. Right. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that this move happened. It's just at the end of the day, when a team moves, the fans that are loyal for a long period of time, Chicago Bears. The Bears are moving to Indiana. You have season ticket holders who have gone to Soldier Field since like the 50s, who are just like, what the hell? Now you're in Indiana.
Yeah, and that place is a national landmark. I mean, it is a national landmark.
And Soldier Field's not even being used for the Chicago Fire after 2020. What the hell is that going to be for?
And I mean, people say about the whole Indiana thing. I mean, and it's similar to this. Really, it is. It's proximity wise, Hammond's 15 miles from Chicago, right? It's like I live, Pittsburgh. People that know Pittsburgh, I live in Monroeville. That's the suburb right next to Pittsburgh, right? I'm literally getting a car, you're 14 miles from the city, So it's similar situation. However, it's across state lines. Similar, and like I said, it's similar because you're going from Jersey to New York in here, proximity wise, but it's just where it's, what, I mean, it's hard to get around in New York. I mean, 2 miles, 3 miles.
Pricing has not fixed anything there.
Right. So there's, it is a big thing. People probably look at this that are, like I said, that are outsiders. They're probably, this isn't really that big of a deal. Well, it is a big deal. It's, it is a big deal. Here's the other question what's that mean for Sports Illustrated Stadium?
Yeah.
Now, what's that? How are they going to make up for? They've got to have something there. How are they going to make up for that?
We've wondered that too. I mean, obviously the Red Bulls are still there, fine, right? But you're going to have to outsource other events. I think probably a lot more. Right. I mean, I was going to say right now, you can't put hockey there. Because I was going to say the Sirens, for example. The Sirens play at American Dream Mall, I believe.
What if like the UFL expands? You've been hearing that the UFL may expand. Maybe that's a one. I think I heard about it.
Do we get the New Jersey Generals a third time? By the way, please notice those Generals Cups that are back there. Those are the ones from the 1980s, from the original one with Doug Flutie, Roger Ruzek, and the rest of them.
I mean, I know the Red Bulls play there, but anytime you lose a team, it's still a big deal. It's still anytime you lose a team, in a venue, it's still a big deal.
It's gut-wrenching. And like I said, now that, it's weird. It is weird because, to have a mix zone for a non-Red Bull team, in the Red Bull Stadium, it's strange. Like NYCFC or Gotham, which are very clearly more of a blue color base. And the entire press area and everything, the hallways, it is so bright red. It is almost like eye-blurringly red. Right. And to have the mix zones and all of these kind of things in such a red area for a blue team is honestly a little off-putting. But you're right. They have to make up that rent somewhere. Yeah. And how are they going to do it?
I don't know. They're going to have to do it somehow,
Yeah. So. Questions above my pay grade, sir. But suffice it to say, Gotham FC has basically said, we apologize for any inconvenience. We're moving across the state. And the rest of us in Jersey are just like, well, we can't have nice things here, can we?
Yeah. Screwed again, huh?
Screwed again.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the crap, man? And listen, the Cosmos, the New York Cosmos, it's a legacy team, fine. But this is the perfect way to describe how it is here in Jersey. When the Giants and the Jets are great, they're the New York Giants and the New York Jets. When they suck like they have for the last 10 years, people call them the New Jersey Giants and the New Jersey Jets. That is exactly how it is here in Jersey.
Yep.
So, anyway, one more, I think, and we'll call it here.
Yeah.
This is the match that, honestly, I have been looking forward to so friggin' much.
Yeah.
My wife and I are on opposite sides of the fence here. She's pulling for England. I have to go with Majin Buu and Norway in this case. But Norway's the underdog. In Kane, England trusts. Do you have any thoughts here?
This is going to be a blockbuster. I mean, you've got the battle of two most lethal forwards. I mean, Haaland, obviously, he has 7 goals right now in World Cup. This is just going to be Tuchel. Tuchel. He's got his work cut out for him on how he's going to be able to. He's going to have to really do some things defensively to. It's going to be great. It's really going to be great.
I mean, go ahead.
You've relied heavily. I mean, if you're England, you relied heavily on Harry Kane. I mean, Haaland has 7 goals. He's got 6. You're hoping Jude Bellingham, is going to be able to, going to be back to true form. I mean, he's been decent, but you want to, if you're England, you want to dictate the tempo early on, and you definitely want to control possession. And you've got some good guys to do that in Declan Rice. So you can't, if you're England, you can't get caught playing too high on a line against them, because Norway will just break, and they'll have lethal breaks, and that'll be the end of it. So, yeah.
Right now, as of this recording, this is a Thursday, England is ranked 4th and Norway is 19th. So there's a massive difference there. But anything can happen,
Yeah.
Robin and I are on opposite sides of this fence here. We'll probably throw some kind of a friendly bet in there of some sort. But like I said, I have been looking forward to this one in such a big way. That England match against Mexico was insane. Playing down a man for the second half. Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, right. So excited. Yeah, I mean, it's Saturday. It's going to happen Saturday 5. It's going to be great. If you want me to do a pick 'em on this, I'm going to kind of give the nod to England.
Same. I want Norway to win this, but I think England's the stronger team. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to give the nod to England on this one.
I want to point out also that it's going to get very loud in this house, because in that added time, when England was down a man and they were playing defensive, Robin was screaming and swearing at the TV. Blow the goddamn fucking whistle. So it's expect this probably then. And then immediately afterwards, we have to interview the guy who played E.T. in the suit at 8:00. So I'll go from chaos to passive on this. But I think it's going to be a great match. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And this right here is what World Cup was meant to be. Forget the ticket prices, forget political intervention. This right here on the pitch, this is the gold of it. And it doesn't matter that the match is going to be starting at 11 o'clock or 10 or 11 o'clock over there. Yeah, everybody's going to be staying up.
Yeah, well, yeah, and if you're just a casual guy, fan that has watched a few games, and this is when you want to watch. I know the U.S. is out of it. This is when you want to watch. This is some very good matchups right here that we're approaching some very good. This being, like I said, this is a blockbuster. This is the battle of two forwards. And Haaland was 7 and Kane was 6. It's gonna be. There's gonna be some fireworks. It's gonna be good.
And then of course,
what you want to see.
And of course, the humorous story about the fact that when Norway got to their training facility, apparently the catering staff offered them things like chicken nuggets, burgers, and fries. And they're like, nope. And they brought in 1,000 kilograms of food from Norway, fish, chicken, vegetables, brown rice, the stuff that, I was going to say the stuff that's clearly very much healthier than it is here in the U.S. But that's what was offered to them in Norway. And I'm like, Okay.
Yeah.
But good match overall. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I'll just super touch on this one super quick here. Also, Argentina and Switzerland. I think Switzerland's had a good run, but the question remains: is this Messi's last World Cup? Does he know? I don't even know.
I would have to think so.
I mean, he's not going to want to go out in a match like this either.
No, I think when you look at this one, this is Argentina's, explosive offense versus the Swiss wall.
Yeah,
that's what it's. I mean, Argentina's has 12 goals in their last 5 matches.
Yep.
They have
Switzerland also gave up 3 against Colombia too.
Yeah, they have some defensive vulnerabilities. I'll give them that, but I mean, including, I guess, you can say, that it was kind of a scare in a 3-2 win against Egypt. But I mean, I don't know.
Let me clarify that, by the way. Apologies here. I goofed that one. I reread it and I pooched that bad. But yeah, they've never given up more than 1 goal this entire tournament.
Yeah.
And Colombia, by the way, it was a 4-3 shootout. I apologize for that. I misread it and I feel like an idiot now. Anyway, but like I said, like you talked about the Swiss wall there. You were right there. So it's what's going to happen, which one's going to break. But
right. That's going to be another good match. Obviously, I'm giving them a nod to Argentina. I think potent offense, explosive offense, will find a way to. And I just don't think like I said, you've had some defensive vulnerabilities for Argentina, but I just don't think the Swiss has what it takes to capitalize on those defensive vulnerabilities. I just don't think they do.
And to a degree, I forget how Argentina's been down this road. They have the familiarity, they have the confidence, they know how to play where each match starts to get more pressure on them.
Right.
And that's something I think Switzerland's going to lack a little bit here. It's also, in a small degree, this also may have a factor as well. It's a 9 p.m. Eastern start.
Yeah.
So that's going to be borderline an overnight start for people in Switzerland. Is that going to play a factor as well? I mean, you think that for the most part, they would be able to handle the jet lag, at this point, a month in, but you don't know.
Right. Yeah, you don't know. That's a very good point. Yeah.
So just a thought. But anyway, anything else, sir?
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
So.
All right. Appreciate the time as always. Like I said, a lot to cover in this case here. Glad we did it.
I would say one thing: tough loss at home last week. The Riverhounds to Brooklyn 2-0.
Yes.
The whole Dequa thing. I mean, it was tough. The first time we talked about this on the Pittsburgh show last night. The first time that a Rob Vincent team was kind of unprepared to play. I don't know. They looked very out of sorts, and they just didn't. I don't know. So, but you got a cup
top game anyway. So
you got a cup game Saturday against Loudoun. Loudoun's terrible, and if you're looking to bounce back, this even though it's a cup game, this is a match to kind of regain that momentum that you may have lost against Brooklyn. So
fair. All right. So we'll see what happens in this case here. You said Ed's going to be able to cover that game on Saturday, so appreciate that. Anyway, I'm Scott. That's Bill. Appreciate the time. Thanks as always. Stay well and take care.